Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, it's me, one and only Joe Carr, and I played the Champion Hill Vanguard Alpha over the weekend. I played it with my friend, and that's what you're going to see in the background. The gameplay is from a PS4 Pro, it's not from a PS5, so the graphical fidelity is not going to be that great, but still the game looks pretty well and runs really well on the PS4, so optimization for consoles I don't think it's going to be an issue. The PS5 plays and looks even better, so that's great. And the gameplay is, well, downloaded from Twitch because I don't have a capture card, so I can't just record the gameplay directly from the PS4 into my PC. I had to stream from the PS4 and download the gameplay from Twitch because the PS4 Pro does not allow for recording over 720p and 30 FPS, which pretty much sucks. So whatever, it is what it is, and this is 1080p 60 FPS, so that's great. And yeah, these are some of my first games, and now let's actually get into my opinions. This is what I wanted to tell you in this video, my opinions and my experience with playing the Vanguard Alpha over the weekend. So, the first bad thing that I want to point out, and probably the worst thing in the game that just bothered me while playing it the whole time, is the sound system. The sound system is very weird to me, and I say this because of the general sound and being able to pinpoint shots and everything. Gunfire, you can hear gunfire from other maps because they're all like, all four of the maps are in this kind of like a circle around the buy station area. And you can hear gunshots and gunfire from all the other maps, or from all the other players that are actually playing at the same time as you are playing on your map, but it can be distinguished pretty well. I could distinguish that the gunfire is coming from the other map, however, I could not really distinctively hear the gunfire on our map. I know that there is some, but it was, I think, even more quiet than the gunfire on the other maps, which I knew when someone was shooting on another map. I just didn't know when someone was shooting on my map, and that was an issue for me. Also, a kind of controversial topic regarding sound, but I really like sound of footsteps. I really like loud footsteps in first-person shooter games, and I'm probably used to this because of Counter-Strike Global Offensive and Counter-Strike 1.6 and probably even Battlefield, but many original COD players that play from Modern at War and Modern Warfare 1 and Black Ops 1 really like quiet footsteps because I agree that it does promote aggressive play styles, and just this promotes or discourages camping and actually motivates players to be aggressive and rewards them because they won't be hurt by the enemy so easily, and they can get kills more easily. Now, I understand this standpoint, but it is not really for me. I just like when I hear footsteps, I can orientate myself better based off sound of footsteps, and based off the sound of the gunfire and just the general sounds across the map. So this is not very good for me, but for many COD players it is good that the footsteps are a little quiet. For me, I couldn't hear them at all. So yeah, they're that quiet. But yeah, this is controversial. Some people like it, some don't. I personally don't, but it is not a deal breaker for me. However, it would be a deal breaker if the sound system in general would not get better. But Sledgehammer Games already said that they are working on the sound and going to make it higher fidelity, so that's great. The weapons that we had access to in the alpha feel very good, feel great. The hit markers are also very satisfying, and just the feel of shooting the weapon is really, really good. And also the attachments on the weapon, and the fact that you can have 10 different attachments, and there's been also leaks, some data mines, that, for example, the STG-44 has 72 different attachments. That's just great, and I love that. And every weapon is probably going to have 2 perks as attachments, so that's also really good. And the weapons just look really crisp, and the animations are also very, very nice. But regarding the weapons feel, When you shoot them, they feel great, but when you shoot someone else and the person who's getting shot doesn't feel so great because of the dark screen. It just, when you get shot, the screen gets so dark you can barely see anything, and just the screen shake is so terrible that you cannot react to the shooting. You cannot turn around and maybe fire like a bullet or two into the enemy that's shooting at you, because you aren't even going to see them. And this is also an issue with the general visibility in a game, because the game feels like it's made in this 50 shades of brown. It's all brown, enemies are brown, the maps are brown, and sometimes it's really hard to spot enemies if you don't see their nameplate. And talking about nameplates, they can be sometimes seen through the destructible walls. I love the destruction on the maps. I love that almost everything on these Champion Hill maps could be destroyed. It's not so great sometimes when you want to get into cover and you think you're safe from the enemy gunfire and you can regenerate your health back, and they can actually shoot through the object that you hid behind because you didn't know it is destructible. That's not so great, but in general I love how it works, and I love the destruction, and it wasn't a very big deal to me. I really liked shooting through objects. If they are going to be able to shoot at you, you are going to be able to shoot at them, so you can always do the same to the enemy. But the nameplates that can be seen through these destructible walls, that needs to be tweaked, and Sledgehammer Games have already stated that they are working on fixing this, so that's great. But the aim assist also works through walls, even walls that aren't destructible, and mainly through walls that are destructible. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work, and sometimes it just works even when you don't see the enemy. You might not even see the nameplate yet, but you know that there's an enemy because your aim gets slowed down because of aim assist. So that's also going to be fixed. Sledgehammer have stated this. I believe this is also going to get fixed. Not completely sure, but it's definitely going to be fixed when the game launches, because this is also a glaring issue. The movement in the game feels very clunky and slow compared to Modern Warfare. Like, I had to press down on the left stick several times to be able to get into tag sprint instead of just tapping it twice for like normal sprint and then tag sprint. I don't know how automatic tag sprint works. I never use it. It's not really good for me. I don't want to tag sprint all the time, so it's not really convenient for me. I just much rather press down on the stick. But I had to press down like 3 or 4 times sometimes even to get into tag sprint. It wasn't very responsive, and also the tag sprint feels very, very slow. I don't know if it's just because of the slow animation with the weapon when you're holding it up and tag sprinting, but it just feels very slow, and a lot slower compared to Modern Warfare. Like half of the movement speed in Modern Warfare, it felt like. When you mount on an object, you can now horizontally slide across the object. I thought this would be a little bit faster than it actually is, but it's very slow, which is good, because if somebody mounts and wants to move, if they were moving around really fast, it would be really hard to hit them. This is not the case. It's very slow. You can move, it works great. It worked great even in the alpha, so that's really good. But it's not really broken or anything. You can still shoot the enemy. It's not like they are going to move by a significant margin, so that's really good. The blind fire, I have not tested it in game, but you can actually blind fire over an object or over the side of an object in this game. When you press down on your fire button or on the trigger, when you press lightly, you kind of like lean over the object, and when you press completely, you actually start shooting over the object. So that's very interesting. I don't know if this works only on a PS5 or this is also the case on the PS4, but it just worked like this on Prestigious Keys video. I have not tested this in game myself, so I had to watch a video on how it actually looks and works. And it looks amazing. It really, from a third-person perspective, it looks pretty good. Even from a first-person perspective, it looks really good. And from a first-person perspective, it actually seems like you are revealing a lot more of yourself than you actually are, because when you look at yourself from a third-person perspective, you actually really aren't revealing a lot, which is interesting, and we're gonna see how it works in the full game. I believe they're gonna make a little bit of tweaking for this to make it just as good as possible so it isn't broken when a game finally launches. And players are worried that this is going to tie to some camo challenges. I think so too, but I'm not really concerned. I mean, a grind is a grind. It has to be hard at some point to be able to get some camos, and I'm good with it. I'm fine with it. I mean, bring it on, bring it on, bring the challenges on. I'm willing to do them. I'm willing to grind them out and get the camos. Hopefully the camos are gonna look awesome. And this brings me towards the end of this video. I don't want it to be very long. It's probably over 10 minutes already, but I really just hope for good optimization of Vanguard, and I really hope that this also brings a good optimization for Warzone, because Warzone on the optimization side this year has been terrible. Each season that launches is optimized worse and worse for Warzone. My FPS just dropped down drastically, and I have a GTX 1080 and a 7700K, so I don't think I should be having like 50 to 60 FPS in Warzone. That just feels terrible on a 165 Hz monitor. It just I'm used to over 100 FPS. I'm used to 140, 150 in many games. In some games even over 200 and 300. And just 50 and 260 in Warzone. That's just bad. That's just terrible compared to other games. So I really hope that when Vanguard launches with its new map in Warzone, I really hope that Warzone is going to transition into Vanguard launcher and transition to the engine upgrade that Vanguard made over the Modern Warfare 2019 engine, and just be better optimized. I really hope for it, because if it is not going to get better optimization, it's going to really suck, because even people with like 3080 have problems with FPS. They have like 130 FPS, which is pretty terrible. To like maybe have like a 240 Hz monitor and not being able to reach that with a 3080 or a 3090, that's just really poor optimization on the Warzone part, on the developer side. So I really hope for a good optimization with the Vanguard launch, because I think when Vanguard launches with a new map for Warzone, they can actually transition Warzone into the Vanguard launcher and into the Vanguard engine with all the destruction and all the movement while mounted and all the features that Vanguard is going to offer in base multiplayer. So I really hope this is the case and it's going to get better optimized. I really hope for this, because if not, I'm just going to have a bad time in Warzone and probably just going to stick with 6v6 for Vanguard. And yeah, the last point I wrote down I wanted to talk about is that Sledgehammer Games are listening based on your feedback, based on our feedback for the alpha that we sent them on Twitter, and based on some popular content creators' opinions and, well, constructive criticism on YouTube. They are changing a lot of the things that I mentioned that I didn't like. They are changing it. For example, the sound system, they are bringing it to higher fidelity. The dark screen when you get damaged, they're going to fix that. I guess alongside the screen shake when you get damaged. Visibility, this is something they are looking into as well, because really the game felt like it is 50 Shades of Brown all around, and it's very hard to spot enemies when they don't have a nameplate over them. There were some other points. I don't really remember what they were, but they were in the message of the day on the Vanguard Alpha, so you could see them. But they are listening, and that's the most important part. They are listening to the community and are already fixing things. Already today, on Monday, are fixing things and trying to just improve the game and make the game good for the end user and for the player. And that's just awesome to see and awesome to hear. So I really hope you enjoyed this gameplay and this talk or my opinions and my kind of criticism of the Vanguard Alpha. Keep in mind, this is just an alpha. A lot of the things that I mentioned, a lot of the things that were bad about the alpha are going to get fixed. That's what an alpha is for, and that's why Sledgehammer Games wanted feedback, and they got it, and they're already making changes, so that's just lovely to see and lovely to hear. And hopefully I wasn't too loud in the gameplay. I know I'm quite louder than the actual game sounds, so hopefully it wasn't too bad, and maybe I'll just put over just no sound and just my voice. So you're gonna probably just hear my voice and no game sounds if I'm being too loud in the video. So yeah, hopefully you enjoyed this video and enjoyed my constructive criticism. If you did, leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more. I would really appreciate it. And have a great day. See you in the next video.